What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench Podcast Network channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew, everyone who's tuning in. Thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Subscribe to the channel. Help make this show the best that it can be. You know, this is getting really sad, man. Hey, let me break this down. Everyone, man, who's listening. Okay, during the '80s, which is often viewed and deemed the golden era of this league. You had so many positive forces, man. Um, when the ABA disbanded in 1976, its best players, its cream of the crop players, were brought forth into the NBA. Dr. J. George Gervin, players like Bobby Jones, Otis Gilmore, just countless others. Um, Players like Mel Daniels or Moses Malone. You know, um, and it set the stage for a decade, man, where it brought forth slogans like the NBA is fantastic, why we love this game. And it was just such a great experience, man, as a sports fan. And one of the figures who contributed to that great decade was Isiah Thomas. Not graduated, but went to the University of Indiana, played 2 years there, won a national championship in 1981. You know, um, this is before the Final Four became March Madness. This before it really got going, man. But nonetheless, he led them to the national championship. Indiana, coached by the legend Bobby Knight, one of the most prestigious programs in college basketball, men's collegiate basketball. And Isiah Thomas, he's drafted by the Detroit Pistons, right? Where legendary players like Dave Bean represented and Bob Lanier and whatnot. And Isiah Thomas, man, had a very uh, uh, upbeat personality, man, and he can play. He entered the league, man, had a great rookie season, and things are looking promising in Detroit, as far as the future, right? And I remember he won All-Star Game MVP twice in his career. Isiah Thomas won All-Star Game MVP, especially the one in 1986, man. And I remember, man, they did a feature. They did a movie called The Mary Thomas Story, which chronicled, I believe, the actress Alfre Woodard portrayed Isiah Thomas's mother in the movie. Man, it was a great movie, man. Great movie, man. Isiah Thomas, man, was, he was becoming inspirational in a lot of ways. And he would go on to lead the Pistons to back-to-back championships as his leader, And when he retired in 1994, he was often viewed as the greatest player ever for a player his height or shorter. And most basketball fans, at the end of the day, believe that he belonged on the original Dream Team. But when you look at the way he's targeting, and it's always one player. He's not targeting Dr. J. He's not targeting Dominique Wilkins. He's not targeting anybody who he competed against. Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller. It's always Michael Jordan. And when you look at the way that he is portraying himself, you kind of see why he wasn't selected on the team. Now, mind you, I was upset. I was like, man, Z belonged on that team, man. Back-to-back champion, He delivered one of the greatest performances in NBA Finals history. Game 6 of the '88 Finals between the Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers. He twisted his ankle. I believe he went up for a layup, and I believe he came down on, I believe it was Michael Cooper or James Worthy, foot and he twisted his ankle real bad. Shouldn't even been playing. And for some kind of way, he gets into the zone of all zones, as they call it. He drops 25 points in the third quarter at game 6, which still stands as a finals record in terms of points scored in the quarter, right? And he accomplished a lot post NBA career, president of the CBA. He took over that president of basketball operations. Matter of fact, he was president of the Players Union. Took over president of the expansion Toronto Raptors. You know, his first selection was Damon Stoudemire. You know, he probably Damon Stoudemire probably reminded Zeke of himself. You know, they called him Mighty Mouse, Stoudemire. And then he went on to become president of the New York Knicks. And he coached the Indiana Pacers. So, you know, and he was a pretty good analyst for NBC when they was covering the NBA during the 90s. And what's sad about this, man, it's like, see, when you are a luminary of a sport, like I said, you don't have to be the greatest ever, man. You still get your props. If you go out there, Isiah Thomas had heart. That man had heart out there, man, to be 6'1" and to lead a team to 2 championships, be the leader of a team to win 2 championships. He was the leader of that team. But because of this push to tear down Jordan, now he has morphed into a person, man. Like he don't see how his attack on Jordan, what Jordan says nothing about him, nothing, is a hindrance to the history of the game. He's opening the door for his era to be attacked. I think what he's thinking that all the ire and negative criticism is being directed towards Jordan, when now it's being directed on the entire era. This is why you have to uphold your era. Bill Russell, before he passed away, during his retirement years or whatnot, he always upheld his era. He would tell you in a heartbeat, he felt his era can stand up against any other one. And the reason why he said that is because he had to go up against Will Chamberlain for throughout his entire career, just about. Let's just say over 10 years. The greatest single player for player rivalry in this league's history. They face each other during their 200 times. So he's going to tell you, we had to go up against Wilt every year. Wilt the Stilt. And then beat the Lakers in the finals the majority of the time to produce their dynasty, generate their dynasty. He's never going to tear down his era. He's never going to tear down a player who he competed with again in his era. But in retirement, Bill Russell always gave praise to great players who followed, who upheld the standard. And they didn't always have to be a player representing the Boston Celtics, as Bill Russell did. That's not what Isiah Thomas is doing right now. So in his latest episode here, he tries to criticize Michael Jordan again. Quote, unquote, why are we even comparing LeBron James to someone who couldn't shine in Washington? And it's always about tearing down Jordan to uplift that guy. And it's nasty work. It's beyond nasty work. It's toxic. I'm going to tell you why. When these talking heads call themselves trying to bag on Jordan for what they say he didn't do in Washington, in all actuality, Michael Jordan showed you the essence of who he was. Because he could have, for the salary that was given him playing in Washington, he could have went to any other team that was established to try to win another championship. What Isiah won't tell you also is, throughout the 90s, he always said Michael Jordan was the greatest player he ever seen. He said it on the Arsenio Hall show when Arsenio Hall was the rave. This was back in the 90s when Arsenio Hall had the number one nighttime talk show on wax. Isiah Thomas came on there. He said, man, and Magic's my boy. Him and Magic Johnson were best friends at one time. He said, but that air, man, you see what he be doing out there? And it's not like we in high school. He talked about Jordan's approach to the game, his competitive nature, his IQ for the game, his skill level, the whole nine. He said that in real time on live air. Right? And when he took on the role as color analyst for NBA basketball on NBC, he said on countless occasions, he said, he's the greatest player I've ever seen. He said, Magic and I, we were unable to lead our team to 3 straight championships. We succumbed to injury. But at the end of the day, when you talk about the Bulls, you're only really talking about Michael Jordan. When the Bulls was on the precipice, on the brink of winning the 3rd straight championship, they was up 3-2 against the Phoenix Suns. Actually, it was 3-1 on the Phoenix Suns. And then Phoenix won Game 5 in Chicago, and then Chicago closed it out in Phoenix in Game 6. Isiah Thomas said he's the best player I've ever seen. He said because at the end of the day, nobody has really found a way to stop this guy. He said, when you talk about my team, when you talk about Magic's team, he said, at the end of the day, he's still there. Talking about Jordan. There's been other occasions, too, where, he spoke the truth. But this is what happened in Washington. Prior to, the Wizards were winning like 17 games, I think, in consecutive seasons, if I'm not mistaken. They brought Jordan to the franchise to serve as vice president of basketball operations. And the ownership for the Wizards, they was losing revenue because people were not coming to the games, people. They were not coming to the game. And this was, during the late 90s, the Wizards had a good team. They were still known as the Washington Bullets, by the way. They had Chris Webber, Calbert Chaney from the University of Indiana, led his team to the Final Four. You had Chris Webber of University of Michigan, Fab Five, along with Juwan Howard, who was a hell of a player. You had Rod Strickland at point guard. George Murray signed the 7'7" center who was taller than Yao Ming and Victor Wembanyama. I'm just talking about as far as his height. They had a nice young team, man, that gave the Bulls a push in that first round. All them games were tight, right? And then Chris Webber moved on to Sacramento, got traded to Sacramento and whatnot, and I believe Juwan Howard eventually wound up playing in Miami or whatnot. When Jordan took over that position as VP, to boost revenue for the team, to get people to attend the games, ownership went to Jordan and asked him to step down as vice president and play for the team, to boost the profit and revenue for the team. In return, he would be offered minority stake ownership in the franchise. That's what happened. It had nothing to do with trying to win a championship. He had been out of basketball for 3 years. And he retired. This was during the first lockout season of the 1988-99 campaign. And then he was brought as VP. That was like in 2000, and he was asked to step down from that post to play for the franchise. They was winning 17 games for 2 years straight. So Jordan, they bring forth Doug Collins to be head coach, and he brought a lot of his. He brought Charles Oakley, people like that he played with in Chicago. You know, he had the ACC connection. He brought in Christian Laettner, who played in the ACC at Duke, and he brought in some other Ty Lue. They had Jahadi White on their team. Jahadi White, who I believe came right out of high school. Jahadi White. Enos Watley was on their team. All the goal was to make the playoffs, to make the franchise profitable. Oh, and Jerry Stackhouse was on that team. I knew it was somebody I was thinking of. Jerry Stackhouse, University of North Carolina, just like Georgia. So he had an ACC connection thing going. Now, and it's so sad. You see, there's a clear-cut agenda, man, to erase this man from history. And as a basketball fan, man, I feel like I'm a part of the NBA history by being a fan. So when you throw that out there, you insulting me because I grew up watching this stuff. Their first year, if I'm not mistaken, the Wizards was like 26 and 21. Jordan was dropping like 25 a game. This is for a guy who hadn't played. First of all, he was past his prime. He was in his late 30s. He hadn't played basketball in darn near 3 years. Remember, he retired in his second retirement after the Bulls management broke the team up. He goes out there on the fly practically, and he's balling. And I remember him, man. He was competing against the elite prime superstars. That goes for Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and my boy Kobe Bean Bryant. I'm being real about this, man. You know, so all the prime superstars, he was holding his own. I remember him shutting down. Oh, Ron Artest too. I remember and doing a practice. Believe that was I think that was during Jordan, prior to Jordan's second year with the Wizards. Ron Artest broke Jordan's ribs. This was doing like a off-season run. I remember him shutting down Vince Carter in the fourth quarter of a game, man. When Vince Carter was Vince Sanity, you know what I'm saying? Coming off probably some people say the greatest dunk contest performance of all time. He shut that man down in the fourth quarter, man. Vince Carter didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say. He was locking people up on defense doing that, right? He did the same thing to Paul Pierce. The truth, right? I remember the game versus Kobe in Washington. They was playing each other tit for tat. Him and T-Mac was battling, man. Mind you, T-Mac was balling. He was young, fresh, and he was coming into his own as a player. He dropped 30. Jordan dropped 30. But Jordan's playing on both ends of the court. They was 26 and 21 their first year. And that's when he injured them knees, man. He injured them knees, dog. And the Wizards season fell off. And they finished with a record of 37 and 45. And the second year, Jordan was coming off the bench. And I think he averaged 20 points even his final year in the NBA. But he played all 82 games, people. And I'm going to tell you, In practice, they was complaining that Jordan was too intense. Like the top players outside of Jordan on the team, they said he was too intense in practice. Now, this is a 40-year-old Jordan. What do they think a prime Jordan was, man? Scottie Pippen know what's up. You see what I'm saying? So both years in Washington, they finished 37-45. And then the front office for Washington basically dropped them and did not meet their obligation of offering that minority stake ownership to Jordan in regards to the running the franchise. And they went their separate ways. That's what happened in Washington. But when you watch that man play, man, he was the best player on the team. Now, Rip Hamilton, the mistake that I believe was made was trading with Rick Hamilton to the Pistons for Detroit. I thought that was a mistake. Rip Hamilton was the better player, and I just he was more driven than Stackhouse. So I'm not saying as far as the decisions, as far as building the team, that Jordan did everything right. I'm just saying in terms of the reason why he stepped down from retirement to play them 2 years in Washington. It had nothing to do with, man, trying to win a championship, man. But I tell you what, when he stepped down from his post, the ratings went up. Them ratings went up because the Eastern Conference, outside of Boston and New Jersey, with Jason Kidd in New Jersey, and Boston with a young Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker, that conference was not. The Western Conference clearly was the superior conference. Let me just put it that way. Now, during Jordan's run, the East was the beast, and both conferences was darn near even Steven. So what I'm saying is, man, for a legendary player like Isiah Thomas, look, man, he won back-to-back championships, man, right? Detroit is one of the all-time great teams. Now, when people want to rank them, it's up to them. But they went back-to-back. They broke through the dominance of the Lakers and the Celtics, right? But the Bulls was always right there behind them, putting a major threat in them because of Michael Jordan. So my thing is, man, if you're not going to be accurate and authentic about what you're saying about past NBA experience, and just leave all that alone, man. Just talk about the game today. Talk about tonight's matchups, man. Whoever playing, man. It's too much revisionist, and it's appealing to the lowest common denominator. And it's really only designed to tear Jordan down to uplift the Hurricane. Because he just said it. He just said it. Why are we even comparing LeBron James to someone who couldn't shine in Washington? Well, what he's not mentioning is, since the Hurricane has been in LA, he missed the playoffs in year one. They mortgaged off the whole deal for one season in the bubble. He first round eliminations in 2021, 2024, 2025. When they used to hang on this notion, LeBron has never lost in the first round. Well, he's lost in 3 first rounds in 5 years in a win-out scenario where they've given them player after player, superstar after superstar. Now, you tell me which is worse. You starting off as a rookie in a killer Eastern Conference against a prime Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics. They had arguably the best front court in history. Not saying it was a super team, but because of the greatness of Larry Bird, it helped produce that outcome. Then here come the Pistons, right? Where Boston was their nemesis until they finally overcame them. They got their heart broke by Boston 2 times, right? Then you had other great teams out there. Milwaukee Bucks was 59-23 in Jordan's rookie season when he battled in the first playoffs for the first time of his career. So you're starting from the bottom, starting from scratch and working your way up. And you may lose in the first round, but it's only because you're starting out in the killer conference. The Eastern Conference that Jordan faced in the 80s was miles above what we saw in the 2000s, especially from 2011 to 2018, and especially from 2015 to 2018. The least competitive conference in the history of the NBA during a particular period of time. That's what Jordan had to do. So when they tell you, well, Jordan didn't come out the first round, it only highlights the great degree of difficulty he had to face to methodically break through that. The other guy has been given everything and then some, and he's losing the first round. And see, it's so awful because you're being told to eschew logic to even support that whole notion that a man who's been bestowed advantage after advantage after advantage in the least degree of difficulty, and he's achieving less, playing double the time than the guy that they're trying to erase from history. They're not trying to bring him down the rankings. They tore him down so bad, you would think he's not even top 10 in Jordan. No, it's about trying to erase him from history. And a lot of people are contributing to it, man. They don't realize the harm they're doing to the game because you're not maintaining the standard. So when you got these new players coming in, like Anthony L was saying, well, Jordan was the only skilled guy in this era. That's an insult. Isiah belonged in the dream team. But based on the stuff that he's doing and stuff that he's saying, you see why he was left off the team. You're seeing why. Now, John Stockton was a worthy candidate, don't get me wrong. But Isiah deserved to be on that team. But it's more than talent. When you represent a country like that, man, when you represent your country, it's more than talent. It's character. It's character, man. I mean it, man. I ain't trying to be corny. What it is. You can't come on there, man, and continue to brown bag somebody who helped, was a major reason why the NBA went global. You can't do that, man. You can't do that. But I just want to break down what happened in Washington. The team was winning 17 games 2 years straight before Jordan agreed to play for them. And they won 37 games. The first year, they was on their way to the playoffs. And then he hurt them knees, man. And he had to have all-season surgery. You could tell the man could barely walk, but he's still out there trying to play. And then last year, I guess in an attempt to try to, moderate his minutes per se, he came off the bench, but he still wound up playing halfway starters minutes, and he wound up playing all 82 games, playing offense and defense. So at the end of the day, man, this is why the league needs to move forward. This is the prime example why. Now, he gonna talk about Washington, but he ain't gonna talk about the Bulls. He'll bring up Pippen now. He used to never give credit to Pippen. But now Pippen gets all the credit, but when Pippen went to Houston, they lost in the first round. They lost in the first round multiple occasions after the 2007 Western Conference Finals. Now you tell me what's going on. And Pippen was on the squad in Portland that had the talent to win it. They had the most talent in the NBA. They thought when they got Pippen, he was going to lead them because of the 6 championships. But what it shows, man, Jordan was the driving force behind the whole deal, man. That's the whole thing. And Pippen showed you that he was the best number 2 player playing alongside Michael Jordan, man. At the end of the deal. Look, that's why I say, man, everybody need to move forward, man. You're only doing damage to the game. Like, when we came up, man, in the 80s and 90s, man, we was not turning down the past players, dog. We weren't doing it, man. We was upholding. We was like, man, that's Jerry West right there. Man, that's Havlicek. That's Hondo out there, man. Havlicek steals the ball. That's Wilt. You know, whomever. That's Willis Reed out there, man. That's Bob Cousy out there in the Legends game. You know, that's K.C. Jones. That's JoJo White. It's sad. It's really sad what's going on in the NBA, man. It's really sad. And in the end, now, in the end, if this league was ever to fold, it's going to be because of the agenda. If the league ever folds, it's going to be because of this agenda. Not saying that it will. It's a great future right there, man. If they just back out the way. They just said, think about it, man. These dudes, they've been talking this stuff for 10 years, man. They've been talking this stuff for 10 years. They just said what they felt, you know, like, what are they bringing to the table, man? How are they helping to maintain the standard or represent the league in a positive way? Tell me, when you sitting there every day, turn away at a guy that retired from the game over 20 years ago, what positive contribution are you bringing forth? Even when you was an all-time great player in your own right, what are you doing that's positive? So when you kicking out negative energy, and then in the same breath, you wonder why there are certain problems in the NBA. Well, that's one of the reasons why. Because you're trying to tear down the standard. Instead of saying, hey, this is the standard right here. This is what this man did when he played. Period. End of discussion. It's not about skill level, era, expansion. It ain't none of that. You know, so I just want to drop that nugget, man. It's getting old, people, man. It really is. But leave your comments and thoughts until next time. It's your boy JB, BTB, Behind the Bench.